I feel like these conversations I've been having a lot in this podcast because it's like people are sort of generally scared to make that leap of faith, right? But
Yeah,
once you do that, you do something that you love. I feel like the universe just sort of falls into place for you and makes things like align.
totally. And, I would tell anyone, don't worry, it just keeps getting scarier and scarier and scarier.
Yeah, exactly.
This is where creativity gets lit. I'm talking bold pivots, design funks, and those tiny rituals that keep us grounded. I'm interior designer and creative director Ali Velji, and on AVD Inspire, I sit down with artists, makers, and icons for the real conversations behind the work.
Kate MacNeill is changing the game when it comes to lighting. She founded Concord Lighting in 2018, and her custom light fixtures aren't just lighting, they're stunning sculptures that happen to illuminate your life. But what makes me absolutely obsessed with Kate is while most designers stop at just the concept, she rolls up her sleeves and figures out how to birth these impossible dreams into reality. Leading her powerhouse all-woman team, she's part visionary, part mad scientist, and part actual miracle worker. And the design world has noticed. Architectural Digest, Dwell, they can't get enough. And I can't get enough. I'm so absolutely honored to welcome Kate MacNeill from Concord Lighting to AVD Inspire. Welcome, Kate.
Wow, that was so nice. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You're
This
so
is
welcome.
amazing.
All truth. All truth.
I really appreciate that. That's really kind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So are you in your studio right now?
I am. I created a frame. I kept it pretty, found one little section that's, not showing too much of really what's going on behind the scenes. But yes, this is the studio space.
Well, I have had the privilege of sort of entering your studio space because we are working on an amazing commercial project together.
We are.
Lighting is actually being installed as we speak. So tell me about Concord Lighting.
So Concord started in 2018, as you said. My background is more from a manufacturing space. I entered this, lighting world from a funny angle. I feel like there's lots of different lighting designers and lighting manufacturers, and everyone's kind of, their offering and their business model is all very different, and Concord's feels very unique for sure. I learned lighting through a previous work position that I had. So I had a cabinet making background. I started working with other designers who had an in-house lighting studio. I learned everything there was about lighting. And once I kind of had a handle of what went into the wiring and the manufacturing and the standard components and that type of thing, I set out and found a whole kind of world of manufacturers, starting with one fabricator and then reaching out to people and starting to discover that there are just endless manufacturers, endless capabilities, endless materials. I realized that with my manufacturing capability, partnering with a really strong designer and having a physical space where I could assemble these manufactured components, there's really no limit to what we could do.
That's incredible. I feel like that is a really amazing lesson because, it's not like you have to do everything. I feel like it's really important as a business person to be able to sort of know what you're really good at and what other people are really good at.
Absolutely. If you're making an investment of a $5 million piece of equipment, then, you have to be operating that all of the time.
Correct.
So a lot of people are in the business of operating one piece of equipment, where I've come to realize that we can really optimize all of these different capabilities by just sourcing out different component parts to people that do have these tools. And, once you're able to detail and design a fixture based on the sum of its parts, there's really no limit to kind of what that fixture can be.
So because you sort of work with this design firm that had this in-house sort of lighting studio, why lighting?
Yeah, it's funny because I remember my undergraduate degree is in commerce, and I kind of had this existential crisis in my 20s where I was like, I just want to make something. Like I need to be physically making something. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what material, what that is. Is it ceramic? Is it wood? This opportunity came up. I took this cabinet making program. Like, I'll start there. So that kind of got me into shop environments. And why lighting? That's where I ended up. And if I had ended up in a stained glass studio, then I'm sure I'd be in the stained glass business. So it's something where I feel like I ended up in this world. And, the thing with lighting is it's many things. Like the decorative fixtures, they're sculptures, but they're also a functional object.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's two things going on, and creating a sculpture and then illuminating it. And there's universes within both sides of that. I really enjoy that. The lighting part, it's like the figuring out lighting is like from an architectural perspective, and the illuminated effect of a space is the science in itself. It's definitely something where I feel like you have to be a bit of a sucker for punishment in where it's
there's just so many moving parts and so many different components that I don't think people realize. Yes, it is a lighting fixture. It's magical because there are so many components, and lighting is one of those things where I feel like people almost take it for granted because it's like it affects how we feel every single day.
100%.
Quick real-time design with confessional. Sourcing quality fireplaces used to stress me out until I discovered Napoleon. This Canadian-based brand has the biggest product portfolio and gives me a huge advantage with gas and electric solutions for any budget. So, no more compromising on the design vision due to limited options. Fellow designers, this is your new secret weapon for choosing fireplaces that are going to stand out. Trust me, every time that fireplace goes on, your clients will thank you.
It gets really wild when you start doing these highly, highly custom pieces, and it's the first time you've ever made this light and you'll never make it again. There's learning that you can take from each project, but ultimately every time it's the first time and you'll never make that light again. So
yeah,
it's certainly challenging.
Going back to sort of where this existential crisis you were talking about, I feel like there's a lot of people that feel that. Maybe they're in an area where they're like, I'm not really happy. This is not fulfilling me. This is not the career path that I thought I wanted.
I feel like I haven't kind of talked about this time in a while, but I remember at that moment describing it to friends where it's like becomes that physical, overwhelming, painful thing where it's almost like you need to take the leap just for that release because that feeling is so overwhelming, or it's that thing where I just need relief from this feeling of living out of alignment. I don't know, but I need to be set free from this overwhelming, all-consuming feeling like you're in the wrong place.
Yeah. It's almost like a burden or something that's weighed on your shoulders because you're like, should I do it? Should I not do it? If I do it, what's going to happen? Is it going to be the right choice? And I feel like these conversations I've been having a lot in this podcast because it's like people are sort of generally scared to make that leap of faith, right? But once you do that, you do something that you love, I feel like the universe just sort of falls into place for you and makes things align. Yes, of course, it's
for
not to work hard and do all those things. It's never going to be easy, but once you do that, you're right. It feels like a release, and you're just like, okay, now I put it out there, and this is now going to have to happen the way that it does.
Totally. And, I would tell anyone, don't worry, it just keeps getting scarier and scarier and scarier.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I feel like as business owners, it's a terrifying prospect, and
for
it's
sure.
You have to take the good when the good comes, and then you got to take those sort of slow moments as times to not necessarily fret, but figure out new ways that you can run your business or a different outlet or what are you going to do now to expand or whatever it is.
Just have that trust and let that discomfort. I was half joking, but it's true though. I feel like you definitely have to have that attitude or a spirit of resilience and just, once you kind of feel like you're comfortable, then you have to kind of keep making yourself uncomfortable and keep pushing discomfort to kind of keep leveling up. You have to it keeps kind of getting more and more uncomfortable, but that's really beautiful and really exciting. Yeah. That's where all the really nice feelings come from too.
In me. When I was in Toronto last, I was saying that I had a chance to go to your studio and look at your sort of manufacturing process and look at the lights that we were having made for this commercial project. And then we went for happy hour after.
Yes,
and
we did.
We had the most delightful conversation, and it was such a fun sort of moment for me, and that actually sort of spurred me that I need to do this podcast. I think that we sort of touched on it a little bit
absolutely.
Here we are today, which is so insane 2 months later. It's so funny how things like that happen, but we also talked about in that conversation that you grew up in sort of the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And now you live in Toronto. Tell me what it's like to live in the East Coast. I'm actually going to Halifax, Nova Scotia for the first time this summer, and I'm super pumped about it. So tell me about that.
Yeah, it's amazing. I grew up in rural PEI. My father's family were generational potato farmers, so I definitely have that like generational like work dog thing. Both my parents grew up in agricultural families. Our parents were never just chilling. It's small town life, and it's beautiful in a lot of ways. The community aspect of that is really beautiful and really, I think, really comforting for a lot of people. I definitely have so many of my personal qualities or, characteristics that I have, I 100% would attribute to growing up in the East Coast. You realize these things become your culture. One of my first really kind of high-end residential clients, the designer was actually a Calgary-based design studio, and they had connected the homeowner, or we kind of worked together on this piece, and it was really pushing kind of our capabilities. And it was the first time really presenting a client with just the material costs and the craft. It's like presenting a really high budget piece and it being approved. And I was like, okay, it's time to deliver. And you have these ideas, see the plans, and you're like, okay. And then you have this imposter syndrome. So I think there's something too, I think that definitely factors into my not growing up in an affluent home, nothing luxury, nothing high end, also operating a business and working in these spaces. It's also taken me, I would say, from 2018 until now, I've come a really long way, but early days, absolutely, I would feel this kind of imposter, like small town PEI person in these, multi-million dollar environments. Like someone's going to know, like they can tell,
Yeah.
The homeowner, she came by the studio and I was so nervous. I was like, oh, like, I feel like, she's trusting me with a really serious piece. She's given a lot of money to work for this fixture. She's coming by to look at samples. I'm like, this shop isn't enough. It's not, I'm not enough. She walked in and there was something about her. I was just so at ease. I'm like, this is not what I was imagining. Like, okay. And we were chatting. And then she was just like, I was so relaxed and I didn't have any of those kind of scaries and I wasn't, fumbly. And after we were leaving, she was, I don't know how the subject came up and she was like, I'm from Newfoundland. I was like, that's it. That's what it is.
God.
Like, there is just something that I'm like, I just had this
that
like
connection. Yeah.
Or just this flavor.
That's awesome. But this like imposter sort of moment, I have that too, where it's like, is this for real? Like it's funny that you second guess yourself sometimes, even though you are in this creative realm and you have achieved the things that you have and you've done these amazing projects. There's still that moment where you feel like maybe, like, I don't know, like you're not worthy or like there's all these like doubts. It's almost like your inner saboteur always comes out and makes you sort of feel like you're less than. How do you overcome that?
I think it's just kind of nipping that feeling, if that kind of inner voice starts coming in, just being like, no, I'm not listening. I can identify it in real time and just kind of, hold my ground. And you have enough work behind you. You look at all of the things you accomplish and all of the spaces and the caliber of the work and the company that you're in. It's like, no, I deserve to be here.
You get to a certain point where you're like, no, I deserve to be here. Have you seen the work that I've done? Because it's pretty epic. Standing behind that work, and I feel like that's really important too, where it's just like, no, I do good work and that's the way it is. And this is how much it's going to cost. And if it works for you, great. And if it doesn't, that's okay too.
100%.
You don't need to necessarily always lower your costs or do something just to make something work, because then it also doesn't make you feel very good at the end of the day.
No, it feels rotten. It gives you a gross feeling. And also too, it is coming to realize too that Kate is in Concord. And this is a Concord conversation. This isn't a Kate conversation. And, if you don't like Concord or you don't want to, or however that stuff is, like this is not about Kate, but just making that separation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, was this sort of a decision that you made to sort of have this like all-women team? Like, was that something that was always in the back of your mind, or did it just sort of like happen that way?
Not like expressly, like it wasn't a rule. And I've, Concord started with a male, like the design role. But now at this point, I'm like, no, it's an all-woman business for sure.
I love that so much. I think that's incredible. And the work that you guys are doing is fabulous. I mean, you guys really are killing it when it comes to the game with lighting. And I First of all, I can't wait to reveal this new project that we're working on. 'Cause
it's
these
so
lights
good.
are so good.
I remember another designer friend or someone, a mentor, saying to me years ago that you're only as good as your clients, or your work is only as good as your client. And in this case, like you being the client, like you've given Concord a huge opportunity to really present a collection of fixtures that we thought really suited the space, which is so beautiful. It's a very special project. And I remember in our earlier conversations, you know, I just really wanted to feel like it's this, you know, a bunch of different lights that have kind of been collected over time, and not something where it's just like a full run of matching, everything matchy. And it just created a really beautiful opportunity for us to come up with pieces that were nothing like we've ever done before. And oftentimes designers just, they want you to come up with something original, but ultimately they really just want what they've already seen.
Yeah.
So to come up with something original and then for it to be greenlit is a really beautiful opportunity for us. So I really appreciate that.
I always want to make sure that we're promoting Canadian talent, and there is so much talent in Canada, and I think it's so important to support local. Being a creative person, you also want to make sure that you're letting the people that you work with also have this creative outlet and letting them, you know, not necessarily designing and saying, make this. It's like, how do we work together?
100%.
Right?
Definitely. Yes.
You know what I'm obsessed with? Spaces where people actually gather, not just pretty rooms for the gram. It's those moments where families gather around the fireplace or friends linger because the vibe is just right. Their trend-forward designs and customization options let me create exactly what each space needs. Because real talk, design is just not what you see, it's what you feel. Designed to inspire, thanks to Napoleon. What's next for Concord? Like, what do you see in the future? What are you working on that you're super excited about?
There's a lot of internal kind of changes that I'm looking forward to in terms of just how the business is run, the way that like our project workflow. I typically have not been this really goal setting person or being like this next year it's this, but you know, in the back of your mind, I really want to work with this designer. I'd love to be doing more of these types of projects. The relationships with the designers that we have right now, we're working with designers that I've been dreaming of working with for the longest time. So that in itself creates this wonderful opportunity to keep creating more pieces and creating more beautiful things. So I'm excited about future collaborations with, you know, really serious designers and the people that are working on projects that they're really willing to take risks and to invest in really beautiful pieces. I definitely want to update our collection so that a lot of the pieces on our collection, you know, have been there since the beginning. There's a few updates. We did our Hemi collection 2 years ago, which has been just so beautiful and so exciting. And, you know, I really want to reintroduce, not necessarily a full rolled out collection, but a bit of a refresh on the custom pieces that people can then, you know, just see on the website and then specify for their projects. Yeah.
And then last question before we end this podcast. I ground myself in every space that I go into, work every day, at home with a candle. Like I almost feel like that scent, the lighting of the candle moment always seems to like ground me and
Yes.
just makes me feel very comfortable. How do you ground yourself?
Oh, I don't. I'm just...
I don't know that. Yes. Okay.
I'm not. I just come in guns a blazing. It's funny you mentioned that though. April, the studio lead, so she does all the fabrication, runs like all of the packaging and ordering all of materials, all that type of thing. And her energy just is lovely in an industrial space. And she brought in Palo Santo. And there's mornings where I'd come in, I just immediately, I'm like, I could just feel my shoulders drop, and it's so relaxing. And it's something that I wouldn't do myself, but it's so sweet. But like, I don't know why, left to my own devices, I would just slam my computer down and just like get into it. But I'm not sure.
I love that.
But I'm not sure it's working for me. So. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Well, I will make sure that I send you a candle so you burn it. And
please.
It is it has that sort of Palo Santo sort of smell, so it's called, and I think you're going to love it. Thank you, Kate, for taking time out of your schedule to chat with me. I could not be happier for you, and I can't wait to see all of the amazing things that Concord has to sort of come in the future, your new lighting plans, all of the things. Gratitude. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Allie.
Huge thank you to Kate from Concord for being a part of AVD Inspire. Be sure to follow at Concord Lights for all of their amazing projects. And thank you to Napoleon Fireplaces for sponsoring this epic episode. You can go to napoleon.com to find out all of the information on their incredible fireplaces that add ambiance to every space. And as always, thank you for joining me on AVD Inspire. Make sure to share, subscribe, like, and all those things to spread the inspiration. I love you, and we'll see you next time.